If you ask most people right now who they think the contenders are in the Eastern Conference to win a championship, majority of people will probably answer with the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks. But I'm here to tell you that neither of those two teams are the best team remaining in the Eastern Conference. In my opinion, the Miami Heat are currently the best team in the Eastern Conference. As you all probably know, the Heat yesterday beat the Hawks by 3 to advance to the second round and won the series in a total of 5 games. We all like to talk about what the Celtics defense did to the Nets, but why is nobody talking about what the Heat defense has done to the Hawks and especially Trae Young? Just so you understand how poorly Trae Young played in this playoff series, on the season he's averaging 28.5 points per game and shooting 46% from the field. In this playoff series, Trae Young was averaged 16.5 points per game and shot 35% from the field. Trae Young played so poorly offensively that there were even 2 games where he was outscored by bench rider Kevin Knox, who only averaged 5 minutes per game in this playoff series. Obviously, Kevin Knox was only getting garbage time minutes, but still, Trae Young should not have been outscored by Kevin Knox in 2 of the 5 playoff games. Another reason the Heat dominated the Hawks is due to the outstanding performance from Jimmy Butler. Yes, Butler did not play in the final game of the series, which eliminated the Hawks from the playoffs, but throughout the first 4 games where Butler did play, Butler was averaging 30.5 points per game, 5.5 assists, and 8 rebounds, while shooting 55% from the field and 44% from 3. His 3-point percentage is extremely impressive given the fact that he was shooting 23% from 3 during the regular season and managed to up it all the way to 44% in the playoffs. Butler proved to the whole world of doubters who said that Butler can't lead a team offensively. Butler isn't the same offensive player we knew him to be. Butler is a washed offensive player to proving that he can carry a team offensively and he is still the elite type of scorer that he's been throughout his whole career. There were so many critics of the Heat saying that they have no offensive star talent. They have nobody to go to in the fourth quarter. Nobody to go to when the game is tied and you need a bucket. But Jimmy Butler has proven that he is that guy and that he will always be that guy. I also have to give props to Erik Spoelstra, who might just be the best coach in the NBA. Spoelstra is such a good coach. Duncan Robinson led the Heat in scoring in Game 1, putting up 27 points. But in Game 2, Spoelstra only played Robinson for 6 minutes. Now, this could be because Spoelstra didn't feel like Robinson was needed in the game, and they didn't need his shooting and his skill set in that particular game. But what I think the reason for this is Spoelstra knows how deep his team is. He probably understood that the Hawks planned a huge game plan around defending Duncan Robinson, given that he led the Heat in scoring in Game 1. Knowing this, Spoelstra barely played Robinson and put the ball in his other players' hands that the Hawks might not have prepared for nearly as well as they prepared for Duncan Robinson. I mean, this team is so deep that in the elimination game last night, the toughest game to play for a team trying to close out a series, but the Heat managed to win without Lowry and without Butler, 2 of their best players. And this just shows how deep of a team this is. Victor Oladipo led the Heat in scoring yesterday with 23 points, even though he's barely played this entire playoff series. This was his first night actually getting real minutes, and he was phenomenal. That brings me to my next point. Oladipo playing this fantastic game won't be a one-time thing. I think Oladipo will continue to get these big minutes and possibly will even start going forward. And I think we're going to see a Oladipo that can average 15 to 20 points throughout the entire playoffs. This Heat team can beat anyone, and I mean really they could beat anyone. And I think, well, most of you will argue back to me that yes, the Heat showed that they can be a good offensive team, but that was against the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Hawks are a horrible defense. If they end up playing the Boston Celtics in the conference finals, they won't be able to do anything against the Celtics. And what I would argue is the reason the Celtics were able to dominate the Nets defensively is because the Nets have 2 guys to go to, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Nobody else on that team can really create their own shot and be a playmaker. Goran Dragic can do that to some extent, but he gets gassed easily and he doesn't play big minutes. With the Heat, they have so many playmakers. They have Jimmy Butler, they have Kyle Lowry, they have Tyler Hero, they have Victor Oladipo, and even Bam Adebayo at sometimes could be a playmaker for the team and is capable of creating his own shot. And I think that's where that's why I think the Heat won't struggle offensively against a team like the Celtics. Because yes, the Celtics have the best defensive team in the NBA, but I think the Heat have the second best defensive team in the NBA. I think we'll if the teams play in the conference finals, which I do think the conference finals will be between the Heat and the Celtics. I think when we see these two teams match up against each other, it obviously it's all gonna start on defense with both of them, because that's where both teams, that's their biggest strength, is their defense. But what it's gonna come down to is who is in those final minutes, who is the more clutch team, who has the more clutch player, who has the better offensive talent. Obviously, Tatum is the best offensive talent in this series. But when it comes down to it, the Celtics were 13-27 in tight game scenarios during the regular season. And when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the last shot, I rather Jimmy Butler than Jason Tatum. I just do. He hits those type of shots. We've seen it everywhere he's played, in Chicago, in Minnesota, in Philly, even here in Miami. He hits the big time tough shots, the ones that you need to go in, the ones that you want to win the game. He hits those. He's that type of player. He has that clutch gene in him. So when I think about the Heat versus Celtics series and what I've seen from both the Celtics and the Heat, I think it's going to be a close series. I think it will probably go to 7 games. But if I were to choose one team right now to make it to the NBA Finals out of the Eastern Conference, I am choosing the Miami Heat. As always, though, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're here for the next video.